What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this beta break where we've got something a little bit different today. As always, I'm Tyler. I'm here with the team, but today we've got Miguel from Climbing Rehab, and we're going to be talking through an incident that happened at the recent Method Underground competition where one of the finalists had an incident during one of the boulders, and Miguel was there to help us out. Miguel, for the people at home, could you just give us a quick intro, what you do, and all the normal background stuff?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. I started climbing rehab like around 3 years ago. I guess like brief introduction here is I've been a PT for like the last 4 years, physical therapist, right? I guess for the last 3 years, it's climbing rehab has been a little bit on the side thing. I've been working with like different gyms. Method is the one that I started with, but now I'm at like Method, Go, Gravity Ball, Chatham, Central Chelsea, and then a fifth one that I can't say yet because it's not official, but it's exciting stuff coming into the New York City area. But yeah, I think since then I've transitioned to now this being my full time gig, and I only work with climbers now, which is a really sick job. Yeah, really get to work with a lot of cool people.
Yeah, awesome. And for those of you who might kind of wondering, like, yes, Miguel is the owner of Climbing Rehab, one of the sponsors of the channel. And so he is a climber, which is
Yeah, people
I
ask me that a lot,
what?
and it's like that. Like, do you climb too? And it's like I feel like it'd be really weird if I built out this entire brand and I don't climb, right?
So you'd be surprised though. Like, I mean, there are people in specific fields, especially like when it comes to PT rehab, that are they just work with all kinds and all sports, right? Which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you start talking about sports specific knowledge, and someone who's not only like a climber, you are a very strong climber. Miguel has knocked me down a couple of brackets in the advanced category quite a few times in competition. Yeah, and it's really cool to have someone that's in the sport, is a climber, and knows the sport, to really help everyone else in the area, which is I love. And then so like just getting into the actual incident, you spoke with Zoe. She qualified sixth, first one out on female three, right? And the actual intended beta is the dyno to swinging toe hook catch. And then when we start talking about the momentum and everything involved in that, she just, I don't know, rushed her attempt and then just completely missed it and kind of fell on her shoulder. Not kind of fell on her shoulder. She fell really hard on her shoulder. And she was very slow to get up. She never actually stood up. She just kind of sat there and messed around with her shoulder. And then eventually Miguel appeared. And it's kind of a funny, we're going back and forth about this. Like they essentially summoned you because you actually were on site. Uh,
Yeah,
and if
I
I'm
was in
not
the crowd too.
mistaken, that Method is your home gym, right? Like that's the gym that you started this all, right?
Yeah, it's a gym I started. Like now I'm at gyms like once a week, a lot now, but it's the one I'm probably the most frequent at.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Right.
and I was
So
in the crowd.
they all knew you were there. Right? They're like, he's still here. And then so they called you over, and I guess pretty much you didn't realize you were being summoned
No,
over
no,
over the
it took
and
me a
so
little
like
while. It was my friend next to me that was like, "Oh, they're calling your name." I was like, "What?" I went to the front desk and they're like, "Yeah, you gotta go check." I was like, "Okay."
yeah, and then so like just go through essentially your typical assessment and how that all went and essentially where we are with Zoe today.
Yeah, so I've been speaking to her a little bit. Hope post everything now. Everything's okay. She's doing a lot better now, which is great. But yeah, basically, I was summoned, if you will, called into to check her out. I didn't see the fall at all because of the way I was in the crowd, but like towards the back to the left, and there was like a pillar that. So I all of a sudden I just noticed that like you had Quentin who was climbing the males. Yeah, he was up first for the males, and I saw him give a lot of goes, but I saw that she wasn't giving any goes, and I'm like, oh, I wonder did she leave out early, whatever, right? And like, yeah, I literally didn't even see her on the ground until I actually see that she's like looks very dazed, right? So I come on over. Um, the way Zoe was describing the incident seemed like it was a shoulder situation. She fell on her shoulder. I actually, big shout out to you guys. I saw it happen when I looked at the live stream and went back a little bit, so I can actually see it a little bit. Right, that was great. But yeah, it certainly seemed like it was more of a shoulder situation, but as I was doing my normal kind of exam stuff, I was testing out the shoulders, see like labrum, like or rotator cuff, all that stuff. Seemed everything was fine. All her symptoms were coming from like the neck and some like headache. And so that is typically a little bit more of a red flag than a shoulder sprain, right? And so that's when I was like, all right, let's stay seated for now. I told a couple of the people there, like, if we can get some water sent here. I was running her through like a bit of a concussion protocol while we were there, but it was very loud. So I was like, if we can stand up, let's come to the back and kind of like continue with this. So it's a little bit more of a mitigated environment. And yeah, pretty much I just took her through like a concussion protocol, make sure that she was okay in that sense, not slurring her words, anything like that. And then we went through some like neck range of motion, felt up like different parts of the spine, make sure like nothing is fractured, right? Like the immediate things that I was like, all right, you need to go to the hospital like right now.
Mhm.
So everything was feeling good in that sense, but I guess the main symptom she was saying was like a significant headache, right? And like just like feeling like she can't really like move her neck fast without it worsening. So we did a lot of like just like some neck range of motion stuff. I did some like soft tissue work here to make sure things ease up a bit, and she felt a lot better. But the headache was still a little bit present. So then I took her through some kind of like visual cues, neck cues, right? To just kind of like follow your hand a little bit. If you guys ever seen something like that, it's to rule out any kind of like big kind of more neck brain stuff going on that is again more of the red flags, right? So if she's not having negative results with any of these, which she didn't luckily, that's when I felt like, okay, where if you want, you can climb with a lot of these restrictions, right? And I know, Tyler, you're going to talk a little bit more about like the mentality of pro climbers with this, but she
Of
ultimately
course.
decided like that's she'd rather play safe here and not compete for the last one. So
Right.
she did not come.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, first of all, thank you for being there to help an athlete. I'm always glad when gyms and for any gyms who are hosting competitions, having medical professionals on site is a super important thing, especially for every round, and that includes a finals. If you have an EMT on staff, or if you have somebody in the community who might be willing to volunteer their time, asking and having somebody there that can help, really important thing to consider. For you, Miguel, it's great to hear kind of your process of uh, you know, diagnosis on the fly like that. I think you and I were talking a bit about 2 years ago, a very similar situation with Brian Squire, who I think actually podiumed at the event, despite the fact that on boulder number 3, he
Right.
topped the boulder, celebrated, jumped down, and when he landed on a bit of a straight leg, was holding his knee, went backstage into ISO, and then did come out and climb on boulder number 4. You were in ISO with him for that one as well, right? So can you kind of talk us through what goes into the you making a recommendation to an athlete, whether to allow them to continue or encourage them to stop? Ultimately, it's up to them, but that comes down to individual psychology, and it depends a lot on your recommendation. At least I would hope. For somebody like Brian, when you were looking at that knee, what was were you recommending him to continue or to stop? Was that
Yeah. I think like personal comfort in what you can avoid and can't is going to be a big thing here. So I find that if it was like a very much like a younger athlete that maybe doesn't have as much self-awareness, I would really push towards not going out again. I think that just the risk really overweighs the reward here.
Mhm.
But in the case of Brian, I remember, forget if it was like MCL or like medial meniscus, but like some things was not looking good. It was like, this
Right.
is like you can't walk on it, right? And I believe he hobbled, or someone had to like help him out to get backstage, and then they helped him back in outstage for the Boulder 4, which he got zone in and podium, right? It was ridiculous. But yeah. But
I think that was the calculated. I think he was calculating, I can get zone, because I mean, he hit zone and just like stepped off, and that was
yeah.
it. And
So
so,
that's what we were talking about, right? After I did the little exam there, I was basically telling him, look, this knee is not in shape to take any type of fall like this. No
Mhm.
twisting, none of like, it was so many restrictions. And he was like in his head being like, okay, I looked at the fourth boulder, it doesn't need any of those things up to and I was like, okay, uh from a medical recommendation, right? It's like there's a lot of things that can go wrong, but if you truly feel like you won't do any of those things I just mentioned, then sure, but don't go past that, right? It's like once you hit that zone, like control, land, like on the other leg, roll back, etc. Right? And to my surprise, he had extreme self control, got to the zone, looked at it, and came down.
Yeah,
And that was
he
done.
really did.
Yeah, he executed. That was really cool to see. But definitely, if it comes down to the individual. I think if I was the parent, I'd be so scared.
But that was a very informed decision that he made, right? He
Yeah.
calculated what kind of movement he needed to do on that boulder based on previews and made a choice. And based on the self-control that he showed, I'm thinking had it been a paddle dyno or something that required a big drop knee, maybe he would have stopped. I think in a sports viewership context, we tend to celebrate people pushing through injuries or adversity and being like, wow, so tough that they were able to do that. But as a coach, I'm always kind of in the camp of let's play it safe and consider your longevity. And do you want to be able to squat to play with your kids in 20 years, when it comes to a knee injury, things like that. So it's, you know, as somebody who works with youth athletes, I'm always kind of on the more conservative side. I would even say that I'm scared a lot to encourage people to continue to climb if they're showing any signs of pain, unless I'm able to kind of get a more informed opinion. For you, and maybe this is too broad of a question and there's too many specific cases, but are there kind of common injuries or ailments that you see that people should immediately take as red flags and stop climbing, or are there ones that are like, yep, everybody gets a little bit of elbow tendonitis, keep going, but be smart? Are there some common ones for people to look out for?
Yeah, I'd say Zoe's example is a pretty big one for like a. I wouldn't want to mess with that because anything neck based that you're getting non. So I think the key word is like non mechanical, right? And so I use the word mechanical in like you can reproduce it with some type of like range of motion or strength based thing, right? So like think like if I tear my shoulder, clearly if I lift my shoulder here or I put weight on it, that's gonna hurt. But for the most part, if I don't do that, it won't hurt, right? Um, right, like pretty simple with this, right? But you can do that with like pretty much any body part. When it's non-mechanical, like I am just walking and I have pain in my stomach or whatever it is, like I don't know, some type of like hernia, like think things that aren't like more systemic in nature. That's stuff that it's like, all right, if you're currently experiencing that, it is not worth pushing past that because like so many other things can come because of it. So neck headaches, yeah, any type of like migraine based things. Pupil dilation is a big one. So that's something she shared with me that she was feeling for like the next day. And so I was like, definitely take it easy. Now it's good, right? So like, but all of these things is like, all right, yeah, like if I climb when I'm feeling these things, the risk is just inherently so much higher for you to make it worse. So that's where I would say the risk does not outweigh the benefit. Whereas if I, have a messed up knee and I want to hobble to my project and not use that knee at all, that won't hurt my knee more because I didn't use it, right?
Yeah, and so I know for a fact that people do walk up to you randomly. I mean, like, so he's not staffed at Method. Like, he wasn't on call for this, but everyone knows who he is. And it's, of course, does a wonderful job. So I actually had a friend walk up to me and she, at the comp, and she was like, so I heard a small pop and my finger. I was like, so no, what did she call it? It was like she downplayed it, right? And I was like, did you hear it and feel it? And then she was like, oh yeah, I kind of felt something. And I'm like, all right, well, can you, I'm going through, my rudimentary. I'm like, you know what? Go see Miguel. Go see Miguel. But I'm like, he may, because I mean, you're pretty much booked like at all the comps. People are aware of the. Do you actually have like an online booking? How do people actually get your time, reserve your time? How's that work?
Yeah. So I have a website.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people ask like, "Oh, can you see me at this gym at this time?" It
Right.
doesn't quite work that way.
Right.
That's I
Yeah.
have a set schedule, right? And so, yeah, I guess like I'll share that now. My official schedule is like I'm at method Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So that's again my home gym, the one I'm currently at the most. Tuesdays are for goat, right? And I am at on Thursdays. I kind of split between Gravity Well Chatham and Central Rock Chelsea. So again, there will be a fifth one opening up that I'll share more
Talking about.
details when it happens.
Yeah, you can of course check him out. And it's Climbing Rehab on Insta. But so long story short, or short story long, she actually, Miguel diagnosed her with a pulley, was an A4, I think. She had ruptured or popped or whatever. So I was like, see, like this is, but it's a typical like, oh, yeah, I was all right. I got a couple more climbs. And I'm like, just see someone who knows and, get the right. And so she actually decided not to continue climbing, to preserve and come back to fight another day. So that's good stuff there.
I think the main thing I want to add here too is I think a lot of people are scared of getting a diagnosis because they'll be told to not do something, right? Being a climber myself, like that is like I know how important and how like just like feel good it is to climb, right? And so honestly, like most of 99% of the injuries that I see, I won't tell you to stop climbing. In fact, I think taking a complete rest, and that's the other thing. It's like two extremes, right? Like one either tells you to stop climbing completely, or if you try doing it yourself and you're like, all right, I'm gonna take 2 weeks off, maybe the payment goes away, but then it'll come right back because you never actually loaded this thing properly. So I think having a good understanding of the severity of it with a diagnosis and knowing the proper steps of how much load is enough, because you have to load it, right? Like the only like tissues need load to heal, right? From a strength training perspective, from everything, right? Like a complete rest is almost never the actual answer. And so I think I think understanding that a little bit better is one of the ongoing battles that I do. And now I'm kind of have a strong relationship with like the method competitive team. I'll actually be traveling to nationals with them, which will be really fun. So yeah,
Nice.
that's a big thing. Yeah.
Very cool.
I think the kids are starting to get a little bit more comfortable with coming up to me and saying, okay, this does bother me now. What kind of modifications can I do? And like that change in framework is like super key, right? It's like, yeah, we can climb, just like avoid this thing, right? And then not just avoid this thing, but like let's work on that thing so that that thing gets better, right? And yeah, I think understanding that tissues need load to heal, but the right amount of load is going to be super imperative here. My job is not to tell you to not climb. It's just like make sure that we're able to stay healthy and climb in a more efficient way. And it can like then there's a lot of like layover here with some of the coaches that I work with, right? Of like, all right, let's say you have an ankle sprain and we have to lay off doing slab for a little bit, right? But we're still able to do some other stuff. I see that towing down is bothersome, so we're going to work on that from a strengthening point of view. Now we're able to do this on the wall, but how did this happen in the first place? You're very reliant on your upper body, let's say, right? And so you're not really putting in enough footwork. It's cool. Work on that, right? It's like I can kind of guide you through the beginning of that, but I think having access to like coaches is going to be huge there, just like preventing injury. So I'm sure Tyler, you're big on injury prevention for all your athletes. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And my personal opinion is that the best injury prevention is just consistent strength training. So making sure that you are strong and fit. And then when it comes to, acute injuries, something like a fall, there's not a ton that really good neck training can do to prevent a neck injury from a coordination fall. But when it comes to something like pain from towing down or pain in the ankle from climbing on slab, doing your strength training and strengthening your ankles and doing your calf raises and things like that goes a long way in terms of keeping yourself out of Miguel's office. As much business as we want you to get, you're kind of in the business of I hope that that nobody needs to see me.
Yeah. On that note, I think if I can share this, I have like the opposite of like the ideal healthcare model, if in a great way for me. I think kind of messed up a little bit with some healthcare. That's a whole other topic, but in general, right? Like you're kind of persuaded, or it's you get more benefits by seeing people for longer, just like payment wise, right? Insurance reimbursement, all that good stuff. I am lucky enough to like have a pretty booked out schedule for the most part, and enough people wanting to work with me at all times that I'll see people like 2-3 times, and that's about it. Like there's a super high turnover, which is good. I'll do like some like online programming stuff like that, like pre-test, post-test, whatnot. But I don't really keep people for very long because I have other people wanting to come in, right? And it's this kind of consistent cycle is I think so much more efficient, and I think leads to better results and says better things about me if I can get you better in 3 sessions than 10, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, it's great to be able to get people in and out quickly. Something else you recently started doing, which I really admire, is you have a few sliding scale payment options for people who might not have insurance or might have some other financial hardships. Thank you for doing that. That's really great, and I think people can go through your website to see if there's spots available for that at the moment. Is that?
yeah. So I do a few per month. Essentially, it's like kind of like lottery system. If more than a few people sign up, it's gonna be based on my availability, really, right? So and I have it on my website that DM me or email me to inquire about the spots there. And so once a month I kind of go through those and reach out to everyone that submitted their info.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, it's really great.
And like industry workers, I give discounts. Students, I give discounts. I try to be as inclusive as I can with this.
Supporting the community, like it.
Yeah. And for anybody at home who's thinking about a medical professional who gives people discounts and tries to treat them as efficiently as possible, we're talking about the opposite of the U.S. healthcare system. So thank you. Yeah, cool. Yeah, Basim, do you have further questions for our guest? I feel like
No,
we
I mean,
covered it pretty well.
I think we really covered it well. Yeah, and so keep an eye out for Miguel, and don't. I mean, yeah, it happens, right? But he's a busy man, and try to, if you want his time, you can inquire on site. But I mean, I have never seen Miguel's table empty. Actually, the only time I've seen his table empty is when he's actually competing. So Miguel actually does compete at all the comps as well.
Yeah,
He'll do one of the 2 sessions. But yeah, like that's his me time. His
I've
alone.
had people come up with consultations while I'm competing.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, if you see him on the wall, let him do his thing. You know, he's trying to get on the podium as well. And then
Maybe leave him a note at
right,
his table for him to get to
right.
later,
Yeah.
or DM. Yeah.
And then the other thing I appreciate is the force board, the competition.
That's been something I added recently, and it's very popular.
Very popular. And
We got the Austin Hoyts of the world always trying to one up each other.
yeah, I did not realize how strong these kids are. And they're breaking 200 pounds of force, pull force to their fingers, and I'm trying to get 140. That's my goal. So I'm one away. And every comp, I'm like, "Where's Miguel? I gotta see if I."
Oh, we have a very similar PR. My PR is 139, so we're both trying to get that 140.
All right, there you go. Yeah, we're the same. Yeah, which is why Miguel can whip my butt, because I weigh like 30 pounds more than he does. But so thank you so much for the update, Miguel, and thank you everybody for tuning in again. If you want more info on Miguel, it's climbing.rehab on Insta. Definitely check him out. And then the website it's climbingrehab.com.
Climbingrehab.com. Yeah, no dot.
Yeah,
Just
climbingrehab.com. That's where you go to get his time. Of course, if you see him, don't be afraid to say hi and ask for some.
Very friendly.
He's super chill guy. Proud to have him as a sponsor for the channel as well. So thank you again for your support. Thank you guys for joining us. And don't forget, of course, if you are enjoying the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. We're actually really nearing 3,000 on YouTube, and Instagram is just creeping up as well. I'm not even trying Insta, but it is. You guys are loving this everywhere we go. So keep watching, keep subscribing, and of course, let us know what content you guys want to see. So thank you again, Miguel. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll see you guys in the next one. Later.